Hi, today I'm going to be discussing how international factors and legacies have affected Iraq's development. My thesis is that international factors and legacies have caused Iraq to remain underdeveloped due to continued crises resulting in receiving ineffective aid and high rates of unsettled refugees. For some background information, Iraq has had a long history of violence and conflicts. The Iraq War began in 2003 when the U.S. decided to intervene in order to end the reign of dictator Saddam Hussein. The war led to 100,000 Iraqi civilians dying and millions being displaced from their homes. The large amounts of casualties is actually why this video of George Bush having shoes thrown at his head exists, as the Iraqi reporter who threw them was angry so many innocent citizens died. So though it's funny and I'm sure you've seen it before, the reasoning is actually pretty sad and kind of puts it in a different perspective. There's also been a lot of violence inflicted by ISIS, killing over 18,800 Iraqi citizens and wounding 36,245 more through malicious acts such as forcing civilians to lie down so a bulldozer could be driven over them, and plenty of other terrible acts. The violence and unsafety caused many to flee and become displaced from their homes. The extensive amount of fear for their lives has caused 3 million Iraqi citizens to be displaced within Iraq after fleeing for safety. This has caused the Iraqi refugee crisis. There are roughly 250,000 Iraqi citizens who fled to other countries, but 3 million remain in Iraq without a permanent home. 300,000 refugees from neighboring countries, such as Syria, are also displaced within Iraq. Due to lack of resources to help all these refugees, most are staying in the Kurdistan region of northern Iraq without permanent housing, staying in camps like the one in this picture. Some have been living in camps like this for 3 years. Though migration has shown to be beneficial to the economy, as we saw in the Human Development Report of 2009, which explained that moving and gaining access to better jobs, education, and healthcare not only improves the quality of life, but can be beneficial to the economy, as higher salaries allow a migrant to buy more and therefore boost the GPA of their country. However, because Iraq's migration is mostly forced rather than voluntary, they don't receive the same benefits, as these refugees typically have less resources than a migrant moving for economic prospects. This causes Iraq to not receive the same economic or developmental benefits other countries may gain from migration. Due to their lack of resources and instability caused by the high numbers of displaced individuals, Iraq received foreign aid. However, foreign aid is often debated on whether it's actually beneficial to the less developed country or not. As you can see in this picture, the political cartoonist who drew this obviously doesn't think that foreign aid is very beneficial. Sachs, who is an economist and professor, believes that LDCs need foreign aid as a big push in order to help them grow their economies, and as long as the plan is properly designed and delivered, it should be effective. On the other side of the debate, Easterly, who is also a professor, believes that less developed countries don't benefit from foreign aid as much as we hope that they will, even pointing to Sachs' failed attempt to prove his theory correct with African millennium towns that resulted in not reaching the goals originally set for their development. In many cases, foreign aid does not reach its intended goal, as it did not in Iraq. Iraq received $20 billion by U.S.-led aid and $37 billion from Development for Iraq from the UN, intending to reform their economy. However, not only did the U.S. not reach their development goals for Iraq, but actually caused Iraq to be worse off than before they intervened. Iraq's oil production went down and there was less electricity and water accessibility than when Saddam Hussein was originally president. The U.S. failed to fully assess the needs of Iraq's citizens or create a full development plan for them. They also weren't very interactive with Iraqi citizens and couldn't speak Arabic, making it hard to effectively help them. However, even if the U.S. had made a well-thought-through plan and asked Iraqi citizens about which infrastructure needed improvement the most, they likely would not have been ineffective, as Easterly's theory explains that aid alone cannot jumpstart development due to there being too many factors to account for. In conclusion, Iraq remains underdeveloped due to a high amount of conflict and violence, creating barriers to migrate by choice rather than force. Foreign aid was also unsuccessful in improving Iraq's development due to not creating an effective plan that Iraqi citizens were a part of and assuming what they would need. And here are my sources. I hope you enjoyed learning about Iraq's international factors and legacies. Thank you so much for listening.